Little Legends Podcast is a Prediction Esports production. Support us by subscribing to the Prediction Esports Podcast channel on your favorite podcast provider. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Little Legends Podcast. I am your host, the Blevins. Joining me as always is Boop. What's up, man?
It's going good. How about yourself, my friend?
It's going great. I feel nice and revitalized. Had a little mini vacation, doing some Overwatch stuff. And now I'm back ready for that TFT grind. Whew.
Yeah, broski, ready for that TFT grind.
So ready for the TFT.
Totally tubular.
Totally
tubular TFT. I got you with the alliteration, didn't I? Yeah.
And just like that, we're already off topic, but that's okay. Because guess what? We don't have a 3-hour patch to talk about this episode.
Thank God, man. By the end of the last episode, it's a good episode if you guys go back and listen to it. But by the end of the last episode, I was pretty sure my eyes just stopped working because when we're doing this stuff, right? We were either either looking at the camera, and sometimes you just start I just started getting this tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was a point where you're all right, you read, and I was wait. Where am I? In my head, I think I played it off pretty good, but I probably had a good 2-minute period where you were talking about something and just static was just going on in my head.
That was because I was just making a static noise for 2 minutes. Don't worry.
Okay.
That was what actually happened. I had nothing relevant to say anyway, so not a problem there. But we will be talking all about, let's see, what are we talking about today? Oh, Twitch Rivals. We had that happen at TwitchCon, so we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We also, so thankfully, because we had our very long patch episode last week, the announcement of TFT Competitive and all the things in that tweet from Riot Maple Nectar, I think is the name, or that post rather by him. We didn't talk about that last episode. We're going to delve deep into that because that's very, very exciting for the show and also for us because we
got some skin in the game.
We've got some casting. I mean, there's not too many people that have casted more than us, honestly. It's
true.
Only a handful. So we are some of the foremost casters of TFT. I'm just putting it out there.
Sorry, I didn't mean for that laugh to be as hearty as as it was.
Of the 10 total people that have casted TFT, we are about 20% of that. So it's a pretty sizable chunk.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's true though. Casting TFT is super fun, man. Yes. I really, really enjoy it, and just the thought of getting more opportunities about it is it's good to wet the whistle in that way. I think I misused that colloquialism, but
you just take the little.
Yeah, you just gotta wet your mouth a little bit.
Wet the mouth, wet the whistle.
Yeah, gotta wet.
Yeah, I actually, while we're on the topic of tangents, I actually over the weekend got to meet some of our fellow TFT casters. Necra Kenobi, who's actually in the chat right now, got to meet old Kenobes for the first time in real life, and Paul as well. So that was really cool meeting them, talking some TFT in a room full of Overwatch League people who had no want whatsoever to talk TFT. And then, of course, me, when people would mention TFT, I'd be like, oh, you should listen to the Little Legends podcast. I hear it's really great. And they're like, why are you making that stupid voice and very clearly trying to make it sound like someone else is saying that? And I go, I don't know. I'm going to leave now.
Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse is a fan of TFT?
It's true. No, not only a fan of TFT, but a fan of Little Legends podcast. You heard it here, folks.
Oh, wow. The House of Mouse.
The podcast listeners are none the wiser.
Exactly. No, you know what's so funny to me, to think about, is the fact that if you were to 30 years ago tell our parents and be like, hey, we're gonna have friends that we're gonna know for years and never meet in person, and they're not gonna be from summer camp. They're gonna be from this thing called the internet. like think about it, right? Just the fact that we have such like an awesome community without actually having to be in the same room together. Like we're grown up in good times in that regard. But outside, but I was definitely getting some FOMO. I would have definitely helped pretend that someone else was talking about our podcast that whole time. I mean, I'm all about self-promotion.
Yeah, I mean, same, honestly. But long story short, that was very fun. And we had a roller coaster week, actually, kind of transitioning into our normal housekeeping here. Had a crazy good week for downloads on the new episodes. I think our, not last episode, but the episode before, hit 600 downloads on our feed. That's not counting the prediction feed, which you guys need to make sure that you're subscribing to as well. And just overall, just really huge. We've been seeing growth every week over week. It's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you to everyone who has been tuning in and listening. I know we're getting new listeners from all over the world every week. So hello and thank you everyone who has been listening. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure you go to your favorite iTunes platform and search for Prediction. That's PREEDICTION esports. We are on there. That is going to be the #1 way to support us. Getting in on that feed. I know I'm giving you a little update here. We're still not #1 on the prediction, which is great.
We're #2, I believe.
Which is great because we have there's some really great other shows on there. Dota 2 show, Smash Bros. I believe there's a Call of Duty World League show. There's an esports business show. There's all sorts of really great shows on there that you need to make sure that you are following as well. I personally am gaining a lot from it, just from learning about the other scenes. I know it's always tough if you want to dabble in other esports. You can be so laser focused on one or two, but Prediction's a really great way to get some exposure to all of them. So really, really great. Really great there. And guys, on those feeds, both ours and on Predictions, make sure you're leaving iTunes reviews. We had some really great ones come in last week. I checked. I didn't see any new ones this week. So if you do get the chance, make sure you leave a star review as well as a written review. We will read it on the show. And that really does help us as well, growing the show and keeping us up at the top of the charts. Last piece of promo, at least at the beginning here. We did launch our Patreon last week, patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast, and Boop and I we got some goals and some tier levels on there already, but we're looking for new ideas. We've already got an idea of some Patreon exclusive stuff that we're actually going to be doing during the break today. So if you guys do want to see that content, you do want to support the show even more than just listening, you can go over to patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast. But let's move on here and talk about our week in TFT. Boop, I know in the pre-show you were talking about maybe some struggles with this patch.
Okay. Don't just like be like, Boop, you suck. Talk about it.
Whoa.
Okay,
I tried to serve you a nice softball there.
I'm feeling attacked. No, it's because it's true. I'm feeling
attacked because I'm getting attacked literally.
It's like someone's like punching me in the face. Right? I'm feeling attacked. No. Okay. So I was very open about how scared I was for this patch in general, right? Like, I think dodge is pretty frustrating. It's a frustrating mechanic. It just, I've been pretty open about my feelings towards what this patch might be, and that all came to fruition once I started playing. And so let me tell you a statistic. According to my Blitz overlay that I've been using for regular League and TFT, I did not get anything over 7th for 7 straight games. When the
in
patch
ranked?
In ranked, and so I had at least made.
That hurts.
I had at least made some leeway before the patch, because the last patch I thought was pretty great, right? At least for me, right? And then during this time, this was probably even more frustrating. I was playing with my husband. There is, I'm sure we'll talk about it when we go to poster comp, because the Admiral John posted one.
Oh
Or
yeah,
I'm
I
eighth.
definitely posted that one. I
Yeah,
definitely grabbed that one.
where I'm eighth and he's first, right? And that was just like the moral of the story. He ended up getting higher ranked than me, and he's a Yordle one trick, and that was just like not okay, right? Like I hate Yordles, and to see this man that I supposedly love, right? Um, run Yordles day after day and then get a higher rank than me. I was like, I gotta stop this. I have to stop this. And then I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do some studying because I try to do it myself, right? Because I was like, I'm a good player. I could probably figure it out.
Mhm.
And then I just like wasn't getting it. You know what I mean? And then I finally heard someone say on a stream, "This is a slower game," and then I was like, "Wait, that's the ticket, right?" I'm like, I'm taking too much time. All right, I'm doing two things too early. I like playing early game stuff. And what is that? What is
It's
that?
Gnar.
I like.
For those
And
of you in
then
podcast world, this is what you're missing out in the live show. I have a Gnar plushie that I'm. When Boop
God,
is
I
looking away,
hate Yordles
when
so
Boop is looking
much.
away, I just put
And
up to the camera.
And then I was like, okay. And then finally, someone was like, it's a slower game now. You got to think about later game. Econing's more popular. And I was like, okay, let me try that. And then all of a sudden, I haven't gotten lower than fourth since I started econing a little bit more. And so, because I refuse to play Assassins and Yordles, which is a big issue, but I'm like steadfast in my boycott. But and that's a personal thing. I don't know why. I just like don't think Assassins is that fun, and so I just don't like playing it. I've been playing a lot of Knights, a lot of Rangers.
Yep.
I just love Rangers. It's just so satisfying to see Ash attack quickly for some reason. It's like, and the sound it makes is like super ASMR-ish. So I've been doing like Knights Rangers. I love Sejuani, so that's been working out good. I haven't won any, but I've gotten nothing lower than fourth, so I've been able to get. I got all the way back up to Plat 3 after dropping.
Oh, that's not bad.
I dipped my toe in gold once more.
When you said you got seventh that many games in a row, I'm like, oh god, are you silver?
No, I got close to gold 2, I believe, and then I was able to
pretty good climb back up.
Yeah, I got a lot of seconds, but yeah, the Knights Rangers has been very, very friendly to me. But yeah, that's been my week. It was really frustrating. Then I learned to like appreciate this meta a little bit more. That it's just interesting how things have, just by tempo of the game, by changing the amount of damage you take per round and per star level, changes what kinds of comps and who is better.
Yep.
Right? It's not even just balance changes with the characters, right? That change all that stuff. It's just how much damage you take. Because all of a sudden, since the games are lasting longer, 4-cost units all get stronger, right? And that's just something that I needed to click for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people out there, because that was a big thing that I was not getting, because the last meta was much quicker.
Yeah, I have not been able to delve super deep into actually playing this patch yet because I was gone this weekend. There's only, a couple other days besides that the patch has even been out. So I've just been watching streams. I watched Twitch Rivals. I've been trying to absorb as much information. Been watching a lot of YouTube videos from different top-level players, and just really trying to get what I like to do when a new patch comes out is I just can't start playing ranked. I just have too much ladder anxiety. I can't do it right off the bat. So I'm playing normal. I have a Little Legends podcast Smurf that I'm using that's at like silver right now, that if I want to actually queue up ranked, I'll go in there. And I am at the point now where I'm just trying to like soft force a comp. Like I have a few comps in the back of my mind. Like there's 6 Knights, there's the Hyper Roll Knights, there's actually the 4 Wild Sork build that I was running last patch that's actually still pretty good. Then there's Assassin. There's like, I've got a couple of like frameworks of builds out there, and if I see one early, I just force it and just see where it can go. Like if I hard commit at this point in the game, I'm at least learning like, okay, I shouldn't be committing this early. If I get the Akali early, don't just go all in on assassins. Actually, that's not what I found to be the case, by the way. The opposite of that is what I found. If you do
Akali's
get the
probably
Akali,
the best unit in the game.
yeah, if you do find the Akali, just go all in on it. And other things that, like, if I see these top players like Faye, who we see is the queen of the Heroes Hearth Fight Nights, she tweeted out that not Frozen Heart. What's it called? I'm blank. Tier
Gauntlet?
No, tier plus chest. I'm like forgetting all chainmail vest. I'm forgetting my.
Yeah, that's Frozen Heart.
Oh, I'm not forgetting. Stupid me.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself.
I'm
You're
so stupid.
You is good.
Okay,
you is,
we've
you,
got
you is smart.
me no go high school, but we've got we've got everyone confirmed. So yeah, Frozen Heart broken right now, or at least very, very good, especially with Assassins. So I'm like, I'm just gonna build that no matter what. Just like I used to build Morello's and Guardian Angels, just like no matter what. Now it's like, okay, it's Frozen Heart and Infinity Edge are the two really big things right now. Infinity Edge, and after watching Riot Mort Dog streams, they're probably nerfing Infinity Edge at the very latest next patch 9.2. So it's pretty good right now. So I'm just like pushing the limits of like what I can force, what I should automatically build, and then from there I'll start to get some more combinations, build out some more versatility. I just haven't had the time. Normally by now I'd be at a point where it's like, okay, I'm playing some ranked games, I'm getting a feel for like what's good and what's not. Now I'm just like a little bit further behind because I couldn't play it all during the weekend. But I've definitely, after watching Twitch Rivals, have been inspired to build some new stuff and been having a lot of fun testing some stuff out. I'm going to be doing more of that during the week. But let's move on here and talk about Twitch Rivals for a little bit. But before we do that, I actually wanted to, I forgot another thing that I wanted to bring up earlier. We mentioned the Heroes Hearth tournament. We, myself and Boop, have casted the Heroes Hearth Fight Nights. I'm going to post a link in the description below, guys. They are looking for signups. If you're Diamond or higher, fill out the sign up and you could be on the Heroes Hearth Fight Night match as a player, and they're really great people. It's a really fun event to play and a really fun event for me to cast as well. So if you do want to be up on the screen, on the big screen, or I guess the little screen, millions of little screens, definitely check that out. I will be posting the link in the description below. But let's move on here and talk about Twitch Rivals. And I mean, just talking about Fight Night, we have a Fight Night alumnus here taking it down. That is Cloud9's Jeshrita. Huge win. Jeshrita. Huge win. Huge win for him.
Representing Brazil and South America.
Yes.
Love it. They don't get a lot of esports glory, so it's cool. Going back to kind of like a little bit of what you said, I know I'm kind of jumping in here.
It's all good.
But like, again, how a different meta can affect different players, right? Jeshrita did not play well during the Omega Esports League.
Yeah.
It was Omega
OEL.
Esports League, right? And so like he was struggling throughout. I don't think he finished over like fourth more than once.
Yeah.
I think at least when we were casting, and all of a sudden he wins Twitch Rivals, right? And so again, it's just like some of these things. It's just like, this puzzle is easier for me to solve than this one, and that's just like how it goes sometimes.
Well, the other thing about Jeshrita for this tournament specifically, and we'll talk about the final standings in just a second. But for Jeshrita, he wasn't one of the invited players. He had to go through and actually play through the qualifiers at TwitchCon and make it to the finals to play. It wasn't he didn't place in the top 8 of the last Twitch Rivals event, which was the automatic invite. Soju and Delicious Milk and a bunch of other players were just invited players for that. There was an open division in there as well, and we saw some players that we actually know. I know Workhorse from Heroes Hearth was actually playing in that. Kamer the Gamer, who's in our community, also was playing in that event, and I saw a number of other familiar names that were playing in that. But Jay Shrita was also in the same boat as all those players, had to go through. And I think in this event specifically, where the meta is so brand new. I mean, it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the event was on Saturday. So you had 3 days to actually practice. And how many of those days were traveling to TwitchCon, getting settled in? How many hours were you in your hotel the night before grinding the new patch? I can only imagine. I know for me, it really depends on what mindset you're in, right? Like if you're at those events, you want to kind of take it easy, treat it almost like a vacation. But a player like Jay Shrita, who comes from the competitive Heroes of the Storm background, he's been a professional esports athlete for some time, and you get into that killer instinct mindset, and you're putting everything towards it. And he actually it was almost a benefit for him to have to go through that because he just got to play more matches going into it.
The other crazy thing about him is he killed it too, right? I think in every single lobby that he was in, he ended up getting the most amount of points or tied for the most amount of points throughout every single wave of lobbies that he was in, which is absolutely nuts. Like if you're looking at some of these standings, like for the winners lobbies, like that he had to go through, right? He didn't finish below second.
Yeah. Insane.
Through those 3 lobbies, and that kind of consistency is rewarded in TFT, and he gets rewarded this time around as well. But yeah, good. I mean, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of time to commit. And while he's been playing TFT and maybe could commit that time, it's also cool seeing some other names from like a bunch of different games. Here too, you've got like the Odd One, who's a League of Legends legend. Kefri was here as well. Hafu, like all those people from the ecosystem of esports all come together playing TFT is a super cool thing to think about.
Yeah, it was really cool. But obviously playing a little bit favorites here. Obviously been a familiar name to us specifically as we've casted him, and I've actually played with him in the Heroes Hearth event. Just really nice to see him do well. And take home 16 grand. Not a bad little haul for a weekend of TFT, I must say.
It almost pays for TwitchCon.
No comment. But the final standings of the event were Jay Shrita in first with 16.2K to his name for that. Second was Hafu, as you mentioned, with 11.1K. K3 Soju, another Cloud9 member, 8.6K in third place. Skara, rounding out the top 4 at 6.1K. Sleet TFT, who was another, I want to call them grinders, but I mean they were a qualifier. They did not get an invite. They played through the qualifier event. Sleet with 3.9K. Again, just as someone who maybe obviously they had to be a streamer of some sort, but I was checking. I did a little bit of research on and was looking at these people's Twitters. Sleet, is not a gigantic streamer with thousands and thousands of followers and whatnot. Like he's got a couple hundred followers, like a respectable stream. It's like you go in and you're crushing it. Like it's so cool to see that like you don't need to be at the top echelon of streamers to be a really good player and perform well at these tournaments. And then rounding out the top 8 was Disguised Host with 2.7K and Dog, 2.5K to him. Really just, I mean, the Twitch Rivals events to me are just like, they're just it's a cool way to do it because they've kind of taken that esports tournament and really made it more like, it's a nice medium between streaming and an esports event. I really like that just as someone who is very interested in both.
Yeah, totally agree. And there's money involved, right? And they can put up that kind of money, and that's the best way to make a game look and feel like an esport, right? And so, and the way to consume it, we've been consuming esports the same way for such a long time, right? So when there's a new way of doing it like this in a game that doesn't have a spectator mode yet, right? It's pretty amazing what they've been able to do.
Yeah, it's I mean, we have Heroes Hearth obviously does a really great job with that as well. We have seen some of the the behind the scenes stuff there, but I know for me personally, I can't do that. That's just too big brain for me, too much for me to do. And I think that once we get that sort of spectator mode so that the smooth brains like myself can run events relatively easily, we are definitely, for Little Legends Podcast, going to be running events in some capacity. And it's going to be super fun to be able to do that. But Twitch Rivals, with their, obviously their production staff and the money that they get these folks to play is just great. And I really hope they continue the Twitch Rivals events. I know with some games we've seen them kind of dwindle out, or I just don't follow Apex or Fortnite or any of those. They're still doing them, but to me the Twitch Rivals event is really like really it's the highest level event in terms of prize money that we've seen for TFT so far. So
yep, it is the peak TFT right now.
Yep. But we'll be talking more about some of the things that they alluded to in just a bit. But before we do that, we are going to go to a quick break here. So stick around, and we will be right back. If you want another way to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast and become a patron today. We've got all sorts of goals and tiers available, and we're open to suggestions as to what the other tiers should be. We'll be putting exclusive content. Videos, and other things on the Patreon, as well as giving you early looks at projects that we're working on. Head over to patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast right now. All right, everyone. Thank you for waiting through that break. We are back here, the Little Legends Podcast, and we're going to be talking about that big. It was not big in terms of content, but it was big in terms of the implications that post from Riot Maple Nectar. Let me double check. Yes, Riot Maple Nectar, Richard Henkel, who is one of the main. I don't know what his actual title in TFT is, but he's one of the main people working on TFT. He posted this. I posted some really good, cool stats and some things about what they're doing looking forward. So we're going to talk about this and its implications, and really about how pumped we are about this. Now, I know this has been out for about a week, but of course this happened right after our episode, so we're going to be taking we've had a week to take this in and really absorb it and think about what the implications of it are. So let's jump right into it here. So started off talking a little bit about they just shipped 9.19 with Kaisa and Sparring Gloves. We talked ad nauseum about those. And here's the first big sort of exclamation point. Oh, there's a point of interest here. We've reached the last of the major gameplay changes for Set 1 of Teamfight Tactics. So right there, A, we're done with this set. B, 100% confirmation that sets are happening, right? Like this was, this was what we thought. Mort had hinted at it and maybe even more explicitly said it, but now it is set in stone. We are getting sets. This was set 1, and set 1 is done in terms of the new content being added. And I did, in Mort Dog's stream, he did confirm that set 1, they're not, what that means is that they're not adding new champs or new items to the new set, but they can still do balance patches and whatnot. So really kind of crazy that we actually got this piece of information. What are your thoughts on it, Boop?
I think it's awesome. We've been kind of theory crafting this for a while, kind of like comparing it to Magic and Hearthstone, the Year of the Mammoth versus the Year of the Dragon, right? When it comes to card games, sets are very, very popular, and certain things will, shimmy in and out of those sets, and it's just cool that they're, already thinking about what's next, right? We've got set 1, and finally, I feel like we can let a meta breathe, right? And start learning, because like it does feel like we're learning a new game every other week or so. But now, like, we know that sets are coming. That means also we can get excited for more champions to be included at some point, right? Like, if your favorite champion has not made it into the game, then it's gonna be okay, right? But what this also opens up is a lot of people, like, I'm sure there are a lot of characters in League that have similar abilities, right? So as like an example, there's a character that I love. A lot of people. She's very popular, named Lux, and her ultimate is very similar to Aesol's ultimate. It's a single straight line, high damage AP ultimate, right? So in this set, we've got Aesol, but that means in set 2, we might be able to switch out Aesol for Lux, right? It'll give them the ability to give certain kits similarities without having them be exactly the same with like different designs, and it I think opens up more of a way to keep the game solid too, because while Lux won't be a dragon, she'll still function in a kind of like similar capacity, and it will keep things from getting crazy, and so that is that's exciting for me. What about you, man?
Yeah, I think just knowing that this is how big a set is, and this is how big they want a set. These are the types of numbers that we can plan to work with. Now, I mean, this opens up a bevy of other questions. Is set 2 going to be released as big as set 1 is now, or are they going to do it incrementally like they did with set 1? Who knows? How long does set 2 exist? Do they keep adding we don't know any of that, but all those questions are going through my mind. Is there going to be returning champs and items? Or are we going to see 100% new stuff? Now, Mortdog did say that the answer
I think he said that. Yeah, okay, yeah. I was about to. Yeah.
Yep, on his stream, but it's not in this. So, I'm thinking of, when I saw this, these are the questions that are going through my mind. And,
gotcha.
Mort said it, which means it's basically truth, right? Because I guess he knows, right? And I haven't seen him. I don't think he's lying about these things, but it's not set in stone. It's not in a patch notes. I don't take it as fact until it happens. Now, Mort's, take that for what it's worth. But, yeah, I mean, there's, kind of going into the next few lines here. They said they're going deep into, we're going to do a deep gameplay dive, and we'll go over what we learned from the design of set 1 and what we applied to set 2. They're going to be talking about that next month, so that would be this month for those of you listening now.
Spooktober.
Yes. It's good because this makes me think, and just from other things that Mortdog has said in his streams and in tweets, this makes me think a lot of Magic the Gathering, and Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering have not been perfect over the years. They've definitely made some questionable design and balance decisions over the years, but in my mind, their process is the gold standard for what you need to do for a card or card-like a game that TFT would apply under. You need to be working on multiple things at the same time. You need to be working on what's out now. You need to be working on the changes and additions to that, and then you also need to be working on the future of that. So in Magic, they call it the future league. So it's not what's in rotation now. It's not what's going to be in rotation after this rotation. It's 2 out. And from what Mort has said and what they're alluding to here, they've been working on set 2 for a while now. They're getting their mistakes out in set 1, which is, what game is not doing that, right? Like, you're testing the waters in a lot of ways. You're testing not just the boundaries of how much stuff you can put in, what kind of stuff you can put in. And we've talked about it on the show before, where the first set it's got a lot of complexities and nuance and whatnot, but before sparring gloves, all the items especially, and even a lot of the champions, feel very straightforward, right? Like Bloodthirster gives you damage, gives you lifesteal. It's a good item, but it's very straightforward. And comparing that even to just one of the sparring glove items, every time you dodge, you create a small area on the board that reduces attack speed by 35%. Like that the level of complexity in those is very big. So I would imagine, and we see this a lot in many other card games, the base set is exactly that. It's you getting the core. A lot of times they call it the core set. The core mechanics of the game. This is how units move. You're doing damage, etc. And then they ramp up the complexity and the interactions and all that in set 2 and sets on from that. So very exciting to see what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna do what Hearthstone did. I don't know if I did not ever play Magic. I've just opened packs. But the like you know how in Hearthstone they have like a standard set,
Hmm.
like a set that is in every set, and so that's
Yep.
been a good and bad thing for a lot of
Hmm.
players. I think a lot of people are frustrated at it right now, but at the beginning, before there was like an inordinate amount of cards, it
Right.
was fine. But I wonder if they're going to do something like that because there are definitely some characters like Fiora that could be in every single
Hmm.
set, right? Because it's just a good basic character,
Yep.
and that might be easier for them to balance just in general. And so I wonder if they're going to do that. And then there's other things like in Hearthstone, like with the Hall of Fame, where they retire
Hmm.
people to never come back again. I wonder if that will take place here. You can draw so many different kinds of conclusions,
Hmm.
but like what if this is the only time we'll get to play with Pantheon, right?
Right.
I think that will be more of an issue on like set 3 or 4 when, like you said, the complexity starts increasing.
Hmm.
But as of right now, I wonder. There's definitely going to be, I believe, at least 50% of our current champions will be in set 2. Is my theory.
I think I agree. I don't. Just from a work perspective, right? Like at the end of the day, they're creating a game, and they have to be doing this on a very, strict deadline, right? If they're making 100% new stuff, that's just going to take forever. And based on the
Mm-hmm.
clip that they're looking to go at, I doubt that they're, uh, completely new stuff. And if they have to do that, then there's so many bugs. And so, like, take what's known already, even if it's as low as like 25, 30%. Like, I'm fine with 50, even like 50, 60 plus percent
Same.
being the same, because
Yep.
we don't want to play like new stuff is cool, right? But it's diminishing returns, because if it's 100% new stuff, we're just playing a different game, and you don't
Yep.
feel like you're building off of what you've learned, right? Like you're losing some
Mm-hmm.
of that. Like I'm sure if they were released like a expansion, like would be more like what it would be like in a board game, where like here's a one-off expansion that you play in and of itself. Like those are fun and can be cool because they apply the game mechanics that
It's never the
but
same.
exactly. And
Yeah.
in very few cases, that those expansions are better than, or those one-off secondary games. I usually just like to mash them with the old ones like that. I mean, even if it's like don't do that, I'm like, it's my game. I paid the money for
House
it.
rules.
I'm doing what I
Yep.
want with it. And they're like, oh, I see why you didn't do that. But yeah, I think we're gonna see a nice core of what we had in set 1 in set 2. Maybe there's gonna be some tweaks and whatnot. But I what I think they'll probably do is set 1 is done. Set 2 will take elements of set 1, trim off some of those elements, because like you think about it, like wild and sorcerers and yordles, those were kind of like I don't even know what you would call it. Like those were like all related, right? Like if you like a lot of those units interconnected, right?
Yeah, they
Where
synergized.
they synergized across, like there's usually like a pit, not, I don't even know what you call it. There's not even a word for it. Like an anchor unit, like Kennen, for instance, can put you in ninjas or elementalists or yordles, right? I think if they can take a lot of what they already have in either yordles or elementalists or ninjas, take Kennen out and put a different pivot unit in a different place. Make a, or like Gnar, for instance, instead of having a wild Yordle shapeshifter, have a Yordle Blade Master or something, and then make a different like 3 synergy unit be a pivot. And it's like if you just swap some of those around, like instead of having it be like elementalist knights and rangers, like you can have that synergy be Blade Masters, probably not, so Blade Master Brawler or something. Like you get what I'm saying, where like there's so many things that naturally just fall into place. You can just change even just some very small stuff and make those align differently. And then compounded on top of that is the fact that they're likely going to be adding new synergies, um,
Mm-hmm.
new units all together. I think that we can have a lot of the same stuff and have a very different game and a very different meta with not even that many changes.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, to harken back to Hearthstone, because I think most people who play TFT are a little familiar with Hearthstone, and like every time they add a set, they added some type of new mechanic, right? Like this last set was Reborn, and then it was Magnetize, and you know, for a lot of Hearthstone, they added like one thing that like kind of defined that set.
Yep.
Right, and they can do that here, whether that be a synergy or a type of mechanic they want to put in. Because the other thing they could do is take a synergy out. Right, that's that's something that we haven't really talked about. Is maybe on the next set they take glacials out, right, and they add something else in. Like instead of nobles, they change it to Demacians, which is most of the nobles are Demacians anyway, but it'll be closer to what Imperials have, maybe.
Sure.
Right, and so there's a lot to work with. There are actually not that many more Yordles to add to the game, thank God. I mean, the most famous Yordle isn't in the game, which is actually pretty crazy to me.
Oh, right. Timo, right?
Yeah.
If I know them, then they have to be the most famous one.
Yeah, and so it's just like, yeah, like, so basically it's like, yeah, you can have these like pivot points and all this other stuff, but we don't know, right? We have absolutely no clue what they're thinking about because there's so many options. Let me Google real quick how many characters in League of Legends, right? How many characters in League? Okay, because I think it's like 300 something.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. It's 145.
Okay, I was going to say, I am 100 something.
I definitely like to go the grandiose way. But like there's 145 and there's like 60 something in the current set, so there's still half the roster that they can work with while using some of it. So say take 20 more, right, and then put them in the game with like the Fioras and stuff, take some of the synergies out, add some synergies. Like it could be a completely different experience in a very like Hearthstone like way, which is a little scary because not all of those hit very well, right? Like quests was very polarizing, right? For some, quests were super fun, and when they were balanced, they were good. But there was also, you know, Exodia Mage and Quest Rogue, and those were super toxic and not that great. And I think the closest thing we have to that we've ever seen was probably Kassassidon, right? So those things can happen too. So it's not just like butterflies in the future, even though I think there will be. And then the other thing that's actually really cool to think about is a lot of characters in League get reworked. So like Volibear is currently going through a rework. So the Volibear we have in this set is probably going to be very different than the Volibear in the next set. And that's actually really exciting too.
Yeah, the one thing that Mort has said in the streams, again, I keep referencing these, you should definitely follow him on Twitch, twitch.tv/MortDog, is he said, if I were designing a set today, I would not ship Dragon as it is. So it's like, okay, they're probably not putting Dragon, at least how we know it today, in set 2, because I think that they have learned a lot from like what's fun, what's not fun, how can we do cool things while also having it be balanced. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they need to really change even that much in order to make a huge impact. I mean, we've seen how big just adding a handful of characters can be.
Totally. And you know, it's so funny that you say that because, again, like I think that just the similarities between Hearthstone and what they're going through right now in TFT are just so high because I was reading a Hearthstone article a while ago, and they said the biggest regret they ever had was creating Stone Tusk War, which was a 1-cost 1/1 card with charge. And so basically what Stone Tusk War did was stopped a lot of the design. They couldn't do cool things because a Stone Tusk Boar was in the game, right? So they'd think about all these like cool things that they could do, but because of this one card, right, that was in the basic set that I guess they could move to the Hall of Fame if they wanted to, but have not at this point, was choking out their designs. And I think dragons definitely fall into that category, right? We can't add any dragons because all dragons will be strong based off like how how it works right now.
Right.
It's free magic resist, like what Ionic Spark was a while ago. It's just free damage,
Yep.
right? And so I wonder, outside of dragons, if there's any other unit like that in the game right now that like they're just like waiting to get out of the set. So they have like maybe they've got something super cool planned, but they haven't been able to do it because of a single unit in the game, right?
Yeah, I definitely understand that mindset because it's like when you're designing, it's like, oh man, we could do this cool thing where like we give in Hearthstone, that is, we could give a unit like +30/+30 for a turn. We give a +30 attack and +30 health for a turn, but it dies at the end of turn. It can only, gains rush, which is what they changed essentially charge into. It can only attack minions though. But you can't do it.
Yeah,
Because
basically they were like, charge is a bad idea. They try to get rid of it, but Stone
Yep.
Spore was still in the basic set with
Yep.
charge, right? So
Yeah, I think Dragon is definitely the closest thing to that in TFT. But fortunately for just how the game engine of TFT and the game itself works, like there's like built-in maximums, right? Like you can only do, I don't know, 25 or 28. I don't know what the maximum amount of damage you can do in one turn is, but like you can only do so much, and it early on you can't do it. So it's like it's not like, unless there was, I guess the thing would be like if Elise like kept spawning spiders or something, and you had some sort of item that kept generating mana, and you just filled your board up with infinite spiders and killed someone in one turn. But so, like, I guess if there's like a summoner class, that would be something that they would have to worry about if they kept dealing damage. It's like, oh, every time, I don't know enough of the champions to know what would make sense, but we keep making it keeps spawning these champions, but because we did we did this mana generation item that gave them super mana, and then we slowed our own attack somehow, so we weren't killing you. It's like, yeah, but there's really not like. I mean, Guinsu's can give you infinite attack, but there's a cap to it, and even then, like, what are you even doing?
yeah. Well, I've just I think though it might be closer to kind of compare that to some of the synergies we have, right? Like something like Hex Tech, right? That is kind of choking out some design prospect. We don't know again, but I would assume that not all of these synergies are surviving.
No, I don't think so.
Because actually summoner class would be really cool, because there's a couple in League that are really awesome characters. Like Annie summons a bear,
Right.
Ivern's like Daisy is a summon for a character in League of
Okay.
Legends, the golem.
Yeah.
And so like that could totally be a thing. What would be like a cool class? I know you don't have like a ton of League of Legends knowledge, but what's something that you'd like to see?
So I'm just thinking of Dota Auto Chess. Dota Auto Chess has like, they don't have a summoner class, but they have more units that summon units, like Venomancer, for instance. Like
Art Warden.
Yeah, they summon little. Those are always cool. I always like those. They're usually not super great, just like in general across games, because it's hard to make them good but not broken. Like it's usually like, oh, I summoned a million and oh, they're overtuned. We need to nerf them into oblivion. That's always cool because I feel like it's just satisfying to see like your board like keep growing and growing, and that's always cool. I also liked trying to think what else there was. Undead I always liked because it's like it just gives you like armor pen, which I guess is kind of like, no, there's not really anything like that in TFT. But yeah, I mean there could definitely be some cool things. Like I want to see more characters from League, even though I don't know a ton of them. Like Gragas is definitely one that I have always wanted. I always liked.
He'd probably be a brawler sorcerer, which would be cool.
Well, you can't. He'd have to have an origin too.
You think so?
Yeah, I think you have to have an origin and a trait, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So he would most likely be, I think in his current iteration, like 5 years ago, he would be a sorcerer. But now he's definitely a brawler because he's a jungler.
Well, he could be both, but he would need something else too. He would need like,
I wonder what it would be. I don't know Gragas's lore all that well. I mean, he just likes drinking.
Yeah, I mean, they can also pull
Oh
from any
yeah,
of his skins too.
yeah. Kenobi actually has a really cool one. The Ascended. There's like a whole like desert lore
Mm.
group. Like there's an 80 carry named Sivir. Zareth is a mage that does like damage in a straight line.
Hmm.
Like there's like so much that you can do. I would go ahead and bet that, and we could go back to this when Set 2 gets released. The 3 characters I'm almost positive are going to be in the game are going to be Teemo,
Okay.
because something that we don't have is anyone who sets up traps.
Right.
Right, so like he sets shrooms down,
Hmm.
and so like say like a unit walks over the shroom, it does a bunch of damage. I think that could be really
Oh, that'd be
interesting.
cool.
He also has a blind, and so that's another thing that we don't have in the game yet. And so Teemo, Annie, because she's just like pretty popular in League of Legends, and then Lux was the other one that I was thinking of too. Like those are 3, and then the other one would probably be Ezreal. Like those are all like League of Legends characters,
Right.
that we don't have in the game yet. Like they're in all of the movies. You know, they're like Lux. I would feel like is almost the equivalent of like Tracer.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we'll like in terms of like lore, same thing. Like Ashe, I would put up there too, but because Ashe is the first character you play in League of
Yep.
Legends, and so yeah, those are 3 I hope to see.
Yeah, I want to see Dr. Mundo because he's just weird and zany. He'd probably be a shapeshifter, right? Probably, I would think so.
No,
Or he could
he'd be a brawler for sure. But someone who regens health really quickly, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, he would like have like he could have like warmogs like built into him or something.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, he could be a shapeshifter, right? Doesn't his alt like make him turn
No,
into?
his
I don't
ult
know, maybe
is
I'm thinking of-
called Sadakist, and he does damage to himself at the start of it, but he gets like super strong regen after that.
Oh, okay. I think I'm thinking of someone from Dota. I'm mixing up my games here, but yeah, I mean, I leave that to the designers of the game to come up with cool ideas, and then I just play them. I'm not a designer, but there's definitely a lot of cool characters that they could bring out, and I would like to see, even though I'm not super familiar. That just opens up more characters that I can play in actual League, which would be sweet.
Yep.
Because I'm a TFT main, so I can only play TFT characters in League.
Well, the other crazy thing about like now that we're kind of outside of the sets is the fact that TFT is more popular than ARAM. That was actually something that was nutty to me to see, because ARAM was always the I don't want to play League, so I'm just going to play ARAM, right? And it was like the casual thing, but to see that it's like way more popular than ARAM right now bodes very good for the game, right? That I think like that popularity of ARAM is the line, right? TFT I feel like has to maintain over that popularity in order to like continue getting the resources it's currently getting.
Yep.
And it's good because it's also really consistent. So I think we have a lot of TFT in our futures, my friends. It's exciting to see.
Yeah, and another thing that I've seen them talk about is like people have. I mean, I haven't experienced these personally, but these like one-off sort of PVE adventures that they've done in like different types of modes that aren't ARAM or TFT, like people like them, but that single player content gets eaten up so quickly by people, and it's just not worth the amount of investment that they put into it. Like it's so timely, time consuming, and therefore money consuming to make this content. And it just doesn't, like, people do it in a week and it's done. Whereas like TFT and these other and even ARAM, like these PvP modes, like they have infinite replayability, right? Because the competition is the replayability. Even if everything is figured out to an extent, like playing against and going up the ladder is the replayability. So it's good to know that's coming. And in that vein, moving on a little bit into this article, they said they don't want to spoil everything, but they will. But they say that they are committing to building a competitive team or competitive scene for TFT starting in 2020. That's the biggest thing for me personally, and I think you share the sentiment, Boop, for the show and for us as casters. It's like, buy-in from the developer. It's huge.
That's all you ask for sometimes, right? I just need a little bit of buy-in, and then we'll take it to where it needs to be. The community will help, and I think that's definitely true for TFT. It's exciting. I am in 2020 is not that far away, guys. It's literally 3 months away. To think about it,
Yep.
That's nuts. A whole decade will have been over in 2 months and 30 days.
That's crazy to think about. We're going into the 20s.
The roaring 20s, man. The TFT 20s.
The
tubular 20s.
20s.
Yep.
Absolutely crazy there. And yeah, they talked about how the proportion of ranked to normal games is 4-1. Makes sense. Once you get comfortable, like there's really no reason to play normal unless you want to just mess around, which is cool because like sometimes a game people don't want to play ranked. They don't care about ranked. There's not incentive. There's just not that competitive mentality. People try to force the competition on it. I mean, so many games we see come out and they're like, "Oh, this game's developed for esports and it's gonna have the biggest tournament scene." Yeah, okay. It's not like it's not a what came first, chicken or the egg. You know which one. You know which one came first. Like, you know what needs to happen first. The community needs to have the buy-in first. They can't. I mean, you can. If you have all the money in the world, you can push it and say, "Hey, this is going to be an esport. Go make this an esport and like it, fans, players of the game. You're going to want to do competitive."
Hashtag lawbreakers.
But it's played out. I mean, we see Heroes Hearth, Twitch Rivals, OEL. I mean, there's other tournaments too. There's other unstreamed where people are doing tournaments that aren't even streamed. They're just $60, $100 pots every couple of weeks just to play the game. I mean, I've seen Crowan and Jay Shrita just in these like weekend tournaments. Actually, those might have been OELs, but where they're just like, "Hey, what tournament is this? Oh, it's a tournament series. We're playing for $50. Yeah." That's what you need to see. It's not like, "Oh, this game looks like it could be competitive." It's like we're seeing people for basically nothing, right, going and doing these tournaments. And that's what they've seen, and they've seen the numbers for this, and they know that that's what we're looking for. And the other really kind of the biggest, well, that is the biggest thing to me, but the other thing that was really talked about from this article is that there's over 33 million people playing TFT every month, which is almost the population of Canada. In addition, there are 1,725,000,000 hours of game time since launch, 720 million hours coming from the last 30 days alone. This was, of course, last week. Yeah, absolutely insane. And when you look at like, I don't know the exact numbers, but just in talking to people, like if you combine all of Blizzard's titles with the exception of the spike in Classic WoW right now, it's like 30 million for all of their titles combined.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show like how much of a hold Riot Games has on just internet gaming. Right, it's internet new sports, if you will.
Yeah, new sports and U sports.
Yeah, GNU.
Ooh.
Yeah, new sport.
That'd
be a really great name for like an esports team. New sports.
Good is an interesting word to use there.
Good news sports. But yeah,
it's
right.
Q-Lash, man. It's Q-Lash.
They know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And an investor is going to feel so much better investing in something like a Riot Games because they've got 7 to 8 years of quality League of Legends, right?
Yep.
Like their production value is insane. And you don't really get that. It's interesting because I think the International is probably one of the best run events in all of esports,
Yep.
but the relationship with Valve and stuff is a little interesting. They do things a little differently. So Riot's a little bit more classic company. They do things like people expect, right? But they also have like that extreme polish that Overwatch League is so wanting right now, right? That Overwatch League has been striving for, because what is the peak? It's Riot Games, right? There is no question about it. Maybe Fortnite in a couple years, right? If the game, maintains its popularity, but Overwatch League probably won't get there until at least a couple more years, because what League has is sustainable right now. It's super sustainable. So they can invest into, I mean, they only made one game for 10 years.
Right.
So now they have a different game mode in TFT. Think about like all of the success that's already there because they're Riot, right? And so, and like the fact that a lot of us came from Valve playing Underlords, and we're like, okay, this game will be better because Riot Games made it, and it'll be more polished, and it'll be easier to play, and you know, this, and that, and yeah. So you got to trust Riot in that sense. They have other things that are questionable, but in terms of sustaining something and saying they want to make it an esport, they're going to make it an esport. So we just got to give them our trust for now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the comparison with Overwatch League is an interesting one, because I think Overwatch League is almost trying to do something different, like by design. They're not trying to just copy what. I mean, they want the same success or more success than League, than Riot does, obviously. But I think they're kind of going at it in a different way with the franchising and the localization and whatnot. But that's a complete...
Yeah, I'm speaking more towards like the polished of and like just like the apparel and all of that stuff. There are definitely some similarities. They had to do something different because Riot owns that. Right? Because no one's gonna do it better than Riot ever. Right? So you have to do it your own way, and that's why franchising was such a great idea. And so in terms of like the polish and the sustainability, you know, and all that stuff, it's still Riot Games at the top.
Yeah, which makes me extremely excited about what they have for TFT, and I'm like literally speechless. Like, this was such an exciting thing. Like, this is what I hope for, right? Like, you know, we can start Little Legends and think, okay, well, you know, maybe this will be like, you know, like Smash Bros has been for so many years. There's never been support from Nintendo for Melee. There's some like biggest air quotes in the world support for the scene, even for Ultimate in the newest game, but it's just so like they missed the mark completely. It's not what esports is. It's not what anyone wants. They just do it their own way, and they don't care because they're making their game. They don't care about the esports scene. They're not trying to make the money off esports. They're trying to make their money off of selling copies of the game, which makes sense. I get that, but also screw you, Nintendo, because you have such a great game. I'm not going off on that tangent. Riot gets it. It's compared to those companies like Nintendo and even Blizzard, it's a newer company founded by people who know. They know the scene more than a lot of these other companies. Valve also takes a weird stance on things, and it's very exciting to see this. It's exciting to see the numbers and how many people are playing, and I mean, just from what we've started, right? Like we've done other podcasts and stuff, and this one has really grown kind of crazily, at least from what I've seen, and it's really kind of being echoed in what we're seeing in TFT overall. So. Very exciting to see that. And with the competitive, with them formally going to be announcing something competitive in 2020, it really makes me feel good about some of the concerns that we have now. It's like a lot of people I see are like, it's a new game every 2 weeks, or some people are saying every week, and it's like so hard to keep up. It's like, well, if they have a more structured season where it's 2 months or something for a season, and maybe they'll do like small balance patches, but they're not adding anything. If the sets fully come out and it's like you're getting a whole new set and there's nothing new that's going to be coming out, or we know like every 3 weeks there's something new, we can plan for that. That I think will help people digest it a little bit more, and not have to feel like they need to stay on top of it every week, even though you can stay on top of it by listening to Little Legends podcast every week. But I get what people are saying, where I just took this weekend off and I feel like I'm behind, right? If people take a week off, I can't imagine. So I'm feeling really good about what Riot is throwing down here.
Yeah, I think there does need to be a little bit more support for some of the smaller communities. That stream, because I bet that Skara and Disguised Toast and Dog,
Hafu, yep.
Hafu, Becca, all those people probably make up like I don't know how this is for other games, like 95% of the Twitch viewership, right? Because you look below them on Twitch and like after like Becca, it's like 300 viewers and then lower, right? And so
well,
I hope that there's going to be a little bit more support in terms of just like some of the smaller streamers, because it's good to have like your main staple, but there also needs to be that like next generation, right? People who potentially started playing TFT as their game, right? That weren't necessarily League streamers or Hearthstone streamers before that. And a little bit of growth there would be really awesome, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's just more of that's Twitch. That's not TFT specifically. Like, I mean, I think when XQC is streaming Overwatch, he's 100% of the viewers, or Aspen, or like there's like 5 Overwatch streamers now that have probably 99% of all the like watch time for Overwatch. I think that's the case for a lot of these games. Now, Hearthstone or something, like games that have big presences in a variety of different regions, like Hearthstone, I know has a lot of, they've got Korean viewers, they've got Russian viewers, and it's like, well, I'm just not going to watch a Russian streamer because I don't understand what they're saying, and I would rather listen to something I can understand, which is, I at least think would be understandable, right? So you'll see some more diversity there, but I don't know. I think that's, I mean, I heard a stat,
Heroes of the Storm did a really good job on it, just with their launcher. And so
the launcher is a good way to do that.
Yeah, and so like just to kind of those highlights, because that's how you do it, right? Because Scar is streaming right now with 8,500 viewers, and that's amazing for TFT. But I know Heroes of the Storm like would have different people on the launcher every week, and that definitely helped prop up the bottom side of the middle. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that, just in terms of like the league partnership program, not just going to Disguised Toast, but going to this person who has 300 viewers right now, but might be able to grow with a little bit of support.
I definitely, when you look at it from and nothing against Toast, but Toast's brand and business is not tied to TFT inherently. He will be streaming whatever new game he wants to, because he can, and he doesn't need TFT needs Disguised Toast more than Disguised Toast needs TFT right now, right? So like at any time, if he doesn't like the game or whatever, he can leave. But people like, I don't know, Little Legends podcast, they could definitely
And on that note.
No, but I do agree with what you're saying. And the launcher, the Blizzard launcher, and they could theoretically do it in the Riot launcher too, is definitely a cool way. Like, hey, here's here's a unique streamer, here's an up and comer, here's someone who won. Here's the winner of the Heroes Hearth. I mean, that's just the type of cool thing they could do. Here's some tournament winners, some local tournaments that. Man, I'm just thinking of this off the top of my head. Even if they had they have the league partner program, what if they had like a TFT tournament partner program where like you have to fill out a form and meet certain requirements, but you get Riot certification, or like Riot. It's almost like Magic the Gathering does this, where like you can get sanctioned and run events at your store, like Wizard sanctioned events. And sometimes they give out some extra prizes and stuff, like they give out RP or maybe like skins or something. I don't know. Blizzard does it too with the tavern brawls or whatever. Or the
yeah.
If they did something like that, where it's like Heroes Hearth can be a TFT partnered tournament, and they'll show up in the TFT partnered tournament directory and stuff like that. By the way, right, I feel free to use all of these ideas that I'm coming up with off the top of my head. You can have
hashtag hire us.
Hashtag if you're hiring, but yeah, no, there's a lot of cool things they could do. Definitely, that's I didn't even think about that sort of stuff, but that's really cool.
Yeah. Also, I'm just now noticing you made us 1 gold.
No, I didn't. Kyle made us 1 goal. Shout out to Kyle Wynn, who made this awesome layout for us. For those of you listening in podcast world, we have a video layout on Twitch, and we look like units, but we're only 1 gold. We're 1 gold units because we want to hyper roll ourselves, Boop. That's why.
Still better than Camille.
True. Okay. Anything else from this post that caught your eye, Boop?
No, I think we covered it all. I'm excited for set 2, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's going to come up, what kind of like complicated game mechanics are going to try to add in,
Mm-hmm.
because again, like it could be the best thing to ever happen in the game to have this kind of thing in it,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be a little bit of a struggle, right? Like
Yep.
there were demons in the previous iteration,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that was awful, and
Yep.
so at least the game gets patched way more frequently than Hearthstone
True.
does. Like in Hearthstone, you like live with it for like months, and then like there's like 2 patches throughout a season, and you're like, oh my goodness, right? Like you're just playing with toxicity for forever, and for what it feels like, and it just like it starts becoming like, you know, Atlas like carrying the world. And at least here that's going to happen less often, so that makes me really excited too.
Well, and their TFT specifically's business model is not dependent on cards being good, right?
Yep.
It just needs to be a fun set. I think a balanced set is gonna, depending on what they might have more monetization, but at this point, it's just buying Little Legends, right? A fun and balanced Teamfight Tactics and good Little Legend skins will make more money than like a unit being good, right? Because you can't buy that unit. It's not like I'm buying packs to open up so and so. It's like, nope, that's not how the game works. So that's a good inherent thing that kind of keeps it from getting to a point like Hearthstone has in the past.
Yeah, they have better monetization options, right? Because you could also buy Battlefield. I'm sure that's going to happen too, instead of getting it from your pack. No, actually, like Battlefields, right?
Yeah.
You know how we can change those up. I'd buy some cool ones for sure. And so we'll see again what the future holds. We say that a lot, but this time it's very prudent.
What does the future hold? What Hearthstone card is that? Does anyone know?
No, I don't.
10 points to Gryffindor to anyone who knows that. But let's move on here. I think it's Bane or what's his name? Bloodhoof, the Tauren. 4, 5, 6.
Cairn.
Cairn. I was thinking
Cairn.
Bane for some reason.
Bane is what happens after he dies.
Bane will kill the Batman. I don't know how to sound like Bane. I've never seen that movie. Let's move on here to our Mort Retort section. I've gone over at least some of this stuff, but these are all either quotes or, if not direct quotes, then essences or recaps of things that Mort has said either on Twitter or in his stream. One thing that we talked about and alluded to, he said set 2 will not be 100% new. So, like we had thought, it's not going to be 100% new. I think that's a good thing. We already talked about that, though. Also said that set 2 will come out next season, but that TFT seasons are not the same as Summoner's Rift seasons. So if you're trying to extrapolate based on, I don't know how those work, Boop, so maybe you can give some insight here, but the Summoner's Rift season, or the, as we call it, League of Legends proper season, will not be the same as a TFT season. So
okay, cool. So ranked seasons are pretty long in League of Legends proper, and so like we're I think in the thick of a season right now, and that's actually gonna either mean that that probably means that TFT seasons will be shorter than League of Legends seasons, because you get like months in a League of Legends season, and so that means like once a season rolls over there, because at the end of a season they usually add or take away like a ton of stuff. In League of Legends proper, like they'll add items, or they'll do a bunch of reworks at once, or they'll redo like the rune pages and stuff like that. And so it just sounds like that'll be different for TFT. Like the tempo for that will be different, which is cool.
Yeah, I do think that the adjusting that and being able to say, okay, a month is too short, but 3 months is too long, or something like that. I mean, maybe a month isn't too short, but I think that's a good clip. I don't want it to be, once we start getting, we don't want to get to that Hearthstone level where it's like Yeah, the new set comes out, and there's a new one in 4 months. Have fun, guys. Maybe we'll patch it, but probably not. Hashtag just buy more cards, forehead. Yeah, so that's good to know that we're not locked into being on the same cycle as Summoner's Rift. Another thing that Mort said about the ranked season is that they do plan to do some sort of reset of rank. So if we're in, I don't know if it's going to be an MMR, a hidden MMR reset, or just a rank reset where we're going back to the beginning.
Makes me
but
nervous.
It makes me a little bit nervous, but also a sense of relief where I can, it's all going to reset. Let's just play it out.
Mm-hmm.
If they're doing it like most other games do, you'll get rewards based on whatever your highest rank was, not your current rank. So play and be merry. So you theoretically can't go any lower than your highest thing. You can, but you'll still get rewards or whatever based on your highest.
Yeah, I wonder. I can almost guarantee you, if you're like plat and above, you'll probably get like a special little legend. I wonder. At least that's what I would do,
Yeah.
right? Because in League of Legends, if you're, I think, gold or above, you get a special skin for the rank season.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that would be like the most obvious thing would be to get like a little legend for free. I wonder,
cool.
like a cool like champion legend or something. That would be sick. I hope they're doing something like that.
I do too, and I hope that I don't have to grind up to Challenger to get a cool thing, because that's going to be way more work and way more skill than I'm going to be able to do. So I hope that like it tops out at Diamond, or I'll even take Grandmaster, because that gives me a carrot to like really grind in. But if it's Challenger, that's just going to be too stress-inducing for me. But I'm going to want it, so rip. Mort did tweet out, I think it was earlier yesterday. He said they locked down some 9.20 TFT changes. They should be on PBE tomorrow, which I think is probably today if you're listening to this in podcast world. The spiciest one is the Gunslinger extra shots are going from 1, 2, and 3 extra shots to 1, 3, and 5. So Slingers, baby, coming back with a vengeance.
Maybe it's just gonna make Yordles even better.
True, it's gonna make, but it's gonna make wild gunslingers just insane.
Oh yeah, that's true. There isn't a wild gunslinger though, so you would need your 4 gunslingers and 4 wild, separate.
Just
right.
Just level 8. Just go to level 8.
Just go to level 8.
Yep.
You got to get there first, right? Because gunslingers, man, can be hard to get there.
It definitely can, but I mean you got some good early units, and then obviously the decent late game ones as well. Okay, and the last thing we got here from Mort was actually very interesting to me. This is, he actually posted out the Thief's gloves. It's 2 what is the actual base item called? Rogue's glove.
You got it.
Is it Rogue's glove? Is that what it's actually called? Rogue gauntlet. Rogue. Thieves gloves. Rogue's thief. I have no idea what it's called. I need my sheet. Whatever it is, the 2 of the new item together gives your unit 2 random items, but they're not actually random. They come from this big spreadsheet, which Mort tweeted out, actually. And there's different tiers, so I believe it's based on your little legend level. But there's tier 1 combos, tier 2 combos, tier 3 combos, and tier 4 combos. So if you're high level, you get tier 4 combos, and if you're lower level, you get lower tier combos. So this was just an interesting thing that we retweeted it on Twitter at Lil Legends Pod on Twitter. You should definitely be following us if you are not already. Just an interesting little tidbit here. Nothing really super insightful, but just interesting to know.
Yeah, everything's intentional, right? Game design's not just a bunch of random things, right? You got to think of everything. If you don't, then the big problems happen.
Yes.
But I've actually been very happy with how I think the tempo's been a little quick, but just overall, outside of some Kazakhstan things,
Yep.
shenanigans, I think the balance team's been doing a great job.
And I mean, I love those, but that's okay. All right. We will wrap up the show here in the way that we do traditionally like to when we don't have 2.5+ hour shows under our belts already. We're going to be talking about some awesome comps that people posted in the Discord. We like to see whatever you get first place with. Doesn't matter if it's ranked or what have you, or what rank you are, normal, whatever. We just want to see the comps. You can head over to discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Go to the post your comp text channel and post a screenshot. And we do get a lot of them, which is really awesome. I'm glad to see them. There's always little conversations and discussions with them as well. But I will pick out a few of them to talk about on the show. So make sure you get those in. First one here actually comes from me. This is a match I played yesterday.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Leading off with...
I just pick out random ones. I just happened to get there. No, I picked out mine because this is a really weird game. So I did go Assassins. I ended up with a level 3. This is actually Ninja Assassins. Level 3 Zed, level 2 Akali, and then Kennen and Shen as well. But yeah, it was 4 Ninja, 4 Imperial, and I believe, let's see, what is that? 1, 2, 3. No, I guess I didn't get 6 assassins. I thought I might have made someone an assassin, but 3 assassins, 4 Imperial, 4 ninjas, and it got there. It was a really weird game. Like I pivoted like probably 3 or 4 times off of ninjas and then back into ninjas, and I was 6 assassins at one time, and I cut down to get the Imperials in. It was a really weird and wacky game, but I ended up getting there in the end. It was a fun one.
I like the tier 1 Darius just like chilling out.
I actually had 7 Dariuses at one point, and then I sold them out. I got rid of all of them. I kept the Katarina, and then I actually had 7 Katarinas at one time as well. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna sell them all. Got them back. Like I bought and sold and rebought all of the Imperials and some of the ninjas multiple times. It was a really weird game. I wish I would have streamed it. The next one here we've got from Joey. Posted this one. That's their in-game name. I'm sorry, I missed their name in Discord. My apologies, but just a good, Shapeshifter's got a little bit nerfed, but a gold Shyvana still pretty good.
No, do you know why I'm laughing?
Why?
Well, read the name of the 8th place.
Oh. It's Ganks for nudes, if you're wondering.
That's so funny.
That is pretty
And
great.
Meat Lover 95 is number 2.
Dank, Tank,
people are
and
funnier.
Gank. Yeah. Mr.
Ganks for nudes.
Mr.
That's so funny.
Helio Girl. Yeah, these name smiths are just a genius here in this game. But classic shapeshifter build here. Let's see, it's at 1, 2 shapeshifter, dragon. Looks like there's some Yordles here. Wild, 4 wild as well. This is the type of comp that I've run many times before. Very strong, and in the previous patch. And now I think still strong, even though Gnar and some of the shapeshifters got a little bit of a nerf. I think that this is still a very viable build going into this patch.
For sure.
Next one here, we've got Mr. Be Like Beddits.
Bend it like Beddits.
Bet it like bet. No, bet has implications. Bend it like Beddits here. Good old fashioned Knights, Rangers, a little bit of glacial action going. Is that 6 Knights actually? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe made someone a knight, so that could have been 6 Knights actually with some Rangers.
It's good comp.
Yeah, 4 Rangers with the Kaisa. I didn't even see the Kaisa there. Yeah, very, very good comp here. Very nice one. We got another one here from Nail, and this is one of the comps that kind of arose from this new patch. The Golden Knights. We've got a gold Poppy, a gold Darius, a gold Garen, a gold Mordekaiser, and the gold Vayne here paired with a Kindred Sejuani and Akali for just a really, really strong comp, especially if you itemize that Vayne with some Giant Slayers and some other stuff, can be just absolutely devastating in this meta.
That's a Katarina, my friend.
Oh, what did I say? Did
Akali.
I say Akali? I mixed those two up for no real
It's
reason.
actually pretty crazy because Kanye West, who is in second place, has a gold Lucian, a gold Camille, gold Graves, and a gold Tristana. So a lot of three
builds.
Yep, making it into the top 2.
Yep.
Oh, this next one is great.
Oh yeah, I'll give you the honors of this one, Boop.
So I don't know if you guys can see it on Twitch. I don't think you guys
No.
can, but we did reference this game earlier. We got Admiral John, who happens to be the man I'm married to, with a straight up Yordle sorcerer comp. But I think more interestingly, is 8th place, which is Booposaurus. And look, my comp's not even that bad. Like, I don't know. I have no idea why I got 8th this game. I was so frustrated. I literally like got up off of my chair and hit another chair.
Oh,
and I
no.
was like, and I was like, fuck Yordles, man. Yeah, like this game really got to me. And then all of a sudden I see my husband typing in Little Legends, and I'm like, no, everyone's gonna know.
It's funny because, you know, I usually just look at the top comp. I don't look at the rest of the lobby a lot of the times, but he specifically said, take a look at who got 8th. That is some gluten-free copy pasta if I've ever seen it.
There it is.
Second to last one here, we had from Wax Burrito, which this is again some more Yordles, wild shapeshifters, notably here in Dragons as well. Notably here, 2 level 2 Nars.
That's crazy.
Dirty. Just dirty. And last and certainly not least, I had to grab this one from our good friend Sphinxy Boy.
Sphinxy Boy.
On his alt here, and he posted it and just said no comment. And I'm the reason he said no comment is because that very first unit he has is a tier 3 actual Akali, not a Katarina. This is actually Akali tier 3.
Do you know what's actually like super revealing about this? I believe he's challenger on this account, or
at
masters.
Least grandmasters.
And look at how much better everyone is at rolling. Look at all of this. Look how much better they are than us, right? Like you can just tell based off like what team comps we're looking at right now. Yeah. So good job, Sphinxy Boy.
Yes, always good to see those comments. Make sure you get them to us. Again, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. It's a good place to go. We're a very vocal community. We have fight nights, or sorry, not fight nights, game nights on Friday. I'm sorry I missed last Friday. It was out, but I will be there this Friday. We have them. Just come in and say hi, post a comp, ask some questions. We got some really cool people and some really cool text channels in there. We take all feedback in there as well. But that is going to be it as we wind down here. Thanks everyone for listening to Little Legends podcast. Any feedback you have, just get it to us on Discord. Again, remember, follow us on all of the platforms. We're basically Little Legends Podcast everywhere. On Twitter, we're at LIL Legends Pod. Patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast. YouTube, search Little Legends Podcast. All the podcast platforms, we are there. Make sure you're searching for Prediction as well. That's Prediction with 2 E's. Leave a review and all that stuff there. But, Boop, where can we find you on the internet outside of the podcast? Not that one. That's for the patrons only.
Yeah, okay. You'll hear the rest of that website if you donate to our Patreon. But it is going to be twitter.com/BubosaurusRex.
Yes, and you can find me at _Blevins, or just tweet at the Little Legends one. I will see both. But, guys, that is it for the week. Thank you all so much for listening. Let us know how you're doing in 9.19, and we'll see you next week and talk about 9.2. Peace.
Goodbye.